Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu for this Saturday, we've got the Bit.Trip Fate. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Bit.Trip was a series of abstract rhythm-based titles that was released on the Wii from 2009 to 2011, developed by Gaijin Games. They include Beat, Core, Void, Runner, Fate, and Flux. And they went and included different kind of genres of gameplay throughout the different titles. Fate, of course, is the shoot-'em-up component of this, as well as the fifth title in the series. And so what kind of gameplay do we have here? Let's get cooking and find out. So we get a real quick screen that goes and tells us our controls. The left stick is our movement, the right stick is our shot. We have 5 stages total in the Bit.Trip Fate. We go and have determination, patience, desperation, frustration, and anger. And there's also 3 difficulties you can go and play them on. Easy, normal, or hard. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it on easy just to go and make things, well, easy for myself while I go and play stage 1, determination. Let's get cooking. We go and begin with this little cutscene of Commander Video, the character all the way on the right, and 4 of his friends. One of them going and lagging behind, but then a little guy goes and pops out, and we're all good. Then we go and get this little enemy guy who's not a fan of Commander Video, and Commander Video goes and gives chase. So first off, you'll go and probably notice that there's this yellow line that's going and running through the stage itself. So Bit.Trip Fate is very much a rail shooter in that we're actually going and moving along a rail. So our movements are basically restricted to left and right. We go and move faster when we're not shooting, slower when we are shooting, but then we can go and shoot 360 degrees around us in a nice twin stick fashion. But we don't have the ability and the movement that we typically do in a twin stick to go and shoot. So as we defeat enemies, cores will go and pop up to the rail itself, and then we also go and have the occasional power-up that goes and, well, summons the ability of one of our friends. So in this case, we went and got Super Meat Boy, who goes and gives us this awesome big shot that also goes and clears enemy bullets. So depending on where you happen to go and be in stages, it can go and be very, very useful to go and have. Just go and making it easier for yourself not to go and be taking hits from the enemy. So, as I went and mentioned, as we're going and defeating enemies, these cores that they go and drop are going and coming to the rail that we're on, called the Vibe, just in case you're curious. And those cores, when you go and pick them up, you go and see a mode plus. So the modes are something that are very integral and important to the whole Bit.Trip itself. As you go and move through all the games, you'll notice that the modes happen to go and be fairly constant throughout. We've got... You always go and start off on Hyper, and then from there you usually go and move up through other modes, or you can go and move down all the way to, well, right below Hyper is Nether. If you happen to go and get to Nether, then you go and, well, game over if you happen to go and drop below that. So what do the modes go and do? Well, in the case of Bit.Trip Fate, the modes act kind of like... they go and give us score multiplier, a stronger shot, and, well, a more varied shot as well. As you go and start out with a double shot in Hyper mode, then as you go and move up to Mega, you go and get a triple shot. Then from Mega, you've got Super, Ultra, Extra, and then finally Giga, where we go and get a quad shot. And the shot goes and increases in strength throughout all of those. As well as your own shot going and increasing power. The shot that we also go and get when we pick up a friend power-up also goes and increases in power. Junior Melchkin here, his shot is usually a triple laser, but if you're in Giga, it's this awesome, massive, like heavy damage laser, which is just, well, fun to go and use. The modes themselves also go and act as our life, as it were. As we go and increase higher in modes, we can go and take more damage, because as you go and take damage, you go and drop down in modes. So right now, as we're in Giga, if we were to go and take a shot, we would go and drop down to extra, then back down to, well, didn't necessarily mean to go and demonstrate there, but yep, we are now back in extra. We got Mr. Robotube here. It's a fun little wave shot that goes and moves through walls and other enemies. Definitely useful depending on where we happen to go and be. So the whole mechanic of going and moving on a rail goes and adds an interesting twist to the shoot 'em up genre, giving us a limited amount of capability to dodge enemy shots. You have to go and be really careful where you happen to go and be based off of what we're going and encountering. And it's not too bad in the first stage, because we're really just encountering one kind of set shot to go and deal with, these yellow bullets. But later on we go and encounter orange shots, which are fired directly at our position from the point that they're fired at. And then the super annoying pink shots, which go and home in on us until they've gone and crossed the vibe, which is, well, the rail. And then at that point they go and stop homing and become less of a problem. We do have a small hitbox, the plus in the middle of Commander Video there, so it's not as big of a problem as it can go and be, but as far as difficulty is concerned, the game definitely goes and ramps up pretty quickly past the first stage. And even in the first stage, if you're not paying attention, things can go and get hairy pretty quick. There's also that great musical feedback that we go and get from going and defeating enemies, picking up the cores and everything. As we go and defeat enemies, they go and pop in time to the music, going and adding some extra beats and giving us, helping enhance almost the trance-like feel that I go and feel this title goes, and really all the Bit.Trip titles go and have to them. You just kind of go and get in that zone and are so drawn in by the gameplay that you go and have. Another part of that, though, is that these stages all are actually fairly lengthy. As far as stage length is concerned, Bit.Trip Runner probably goes and has the shortest stages, followed by Bit.Trip Fate, and then the other Bit.Trip titles go and actually have really long stages. In fact, most of the Bit.Trip titles only go and have 3 stages to them, just largely due to how lengthy that they are. But it's great gameplay, so it's not really a problem, but it is a different perspective on game design. But still, going and having the music and everything as well timed as it is definitely helps the whole trance-like vibe. And here's one of my favorite parts, that really deep dum dum boss, and we go and get our first boss. So one thing that can kind of be tricky about everything is being able to go and read the displays. So we have the boss's life bar at the bottom, but depending on which mode we happen to go and be in, sometimes it's actually tricky to go and see where his life actually is on that life bar. And then below our score, we go and have the bar that goes and indicates our progress with going and moving up modes. Oh, by the way, first boss is dead. And depending on which mode we happen to go and be in, sometimes the graphical effects actually make that kind of difficult to go and tell where the progress bar actually is. So, with how long the stages in Bit.Trip Fate are, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up now that I've gone and finished stage 1. So So I feel like Bit.Trip Fate is a really awesome title as far as shoot 'em ups are concerned. With the music as well as the interesting mechanics of going and having a set rail to go and travel along, definitely goes and adds some fun and unique elements that a lot of other shoot 'em ups don't go and have. Add to that reasonable difficulty and a great soundtrack, and you definitely have an awesome package here. But then, not only do you go and have the Bit.Trip Fate, but if you go and pick up the entire Bit.Trip for the PlayStation 4 or the Vita, or the Bit.Trip Saga for the 3DS, then you go and get all the other titles in the Bit.Trip, which are definitely worth going and giving your time to as well. Or at least, that's my opinion. Definitely one of those titles that has gone and brought a fair bit to gaming over the course of the last several years. Though, admittedly, they might not be for everybody. But that's definitely the chef's opinion on the Bit.Trip Fate and the Bit.Trip Saga as a whole. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me today for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. This is my final Shoot 'em Up Saturday of 2015. It's been a great year with 52 solid episodes. I want to thank you so much for that. The support that I've gone and had for the series has definitely been great, and well, I definitely look forward to going and continuing in 2016. So that being the case, if you go and have any shoot 'em ups that you recommend I go and have a look at on the channel, or other titles that you think I should go and play, by all means, please go and leave those in the comments below. Once again, thank you so much for coming out and all your support throughout the course of the year, and I look forward to going and seeing you next week, next year.